Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today we got our second version of the question and answer regarding the new RSI Polaris Corvette. So let's go ahead and run through this for those of you that haven't seen it yet or maybe just hate to read. The first question that was addressed was, can the Polaris haul cargo in the hangar? And the short answer there is yes. Now, inside the hangar, there's not mag plates like you have in a cargo hold. So what that means is when the hangar doors open, that cargo may end up just floating away. Now, if you're doing a really traditional cargo run, you're not going to be opening that anyways, and you've probably already decided that you're not going to put a fighter in there. So while you can put cargo in there, as long as you're not opening the doors, it should be fine. Now, what happens when your ship is, hit and it's jostled around? Is any of your cargo going to go tumbling and maybe take damage? It's possible. But the technicality there is you can. It's just a question of whether it's actually a good idea or not. There was also kind of a caveat, or I guess an addition there, asking about Torpedo Room and if you could end up putting cargo in there. The answer there is no. It's a non-modular room. It's designed to carry, or to actually support and hold 28 torpedoes. So there's not really any additional room there for cargo. But with anything cargo, you can technically place it really anywhere. It's just a question of how safe it is and if it's going to be in your way or not. They did go on to say that you may end up seeing aftermarket mag plates that they might allow for add-ons later, but at this time there's not any plans to do something like that. Asked about if the Polaris was going to come with an Argo like the Idris and the Javelin do. The answer there was no. I think we knew that one already. What they mentioned before was it's really designed to support a fighter in that room, so if you're actually putting an Argo in there, you're not really kind of supporting that cause. Somebody asked why the Polaris is considered versatile. Well, it can be used for strike missions, search and rescue missions, general patrol. It can carry cargo, and then once you have the hangar there, you can really open up to other options, as far as gameplay is concerned. So, maybe smuggling's an option. Really, you can do anything with the ship. Now, the question's always going to be, what is it best for? And it's best for combat. It's not really a purpose-built ship for anything else other than combat. So don't expect it to be, better than a whole series as far as cargo is concerned. But that's kind of the general versatility there. It's versatile within a combat role. It was asked about if there was actually a med bay or captain's quarters. It actually has both. It does have a med bay. It was noted to be a small one, though, and it does have a captain's quarters. Now, you're not just limited to the captain's quarters. You actually have a secondary room there outside of just the general population kind of barracks area. There's a second quarters there. So maybe your fighter ace that's hanging out in the hangar, maybe that person actually ends up getting the second room. Or, your number two, maybe that person ends up being the one that gets the second room. Either way, there's two quarters, captains, and one other one. Somebody asked, why is it more than just a better retaliator? And there's several reasons for it. One, the hangar. It's also capable of supporting a whole crew. And I guess I should clarify, that's the question, but ultimately what their answer was about is why they're different. You also get the ability to carry cargo without needing to drop the torpedo bay. So in the Retaliator, you have the different modules that you can equip. So that's something that I think is going to be a factor. You can still technically carry the cargo without sacrificing your offensive potential. And then the Tally overall is a more modular ship. It's more flexible. So while the Polaris is versatile within combat, the Tally can really do a lot of things. It could be a dropship. It can be a cargo ship. It can be a bomber. It can be VIP transport. It could just be your deep space living quarters. And I think what they don't go into, but I think we can assume, is that the Retaliator is probably going to be faster. It's going to have a smaller signature, so it's harder to pick up on runs. It's also a cheaper option, so if you lose it, it's not as big of a deal. As well as actually, if you have multiple different Retaliators, you can attack from different angles. One thing that was different that was mentioned, and I'm going to talk about weapons in just a second, was that it was confirmed to have size 10 torpedoes, which is a massive torpedo. And if I remember correctly, the ones in the Retaliator are size 6. So that is a big difference when you talk about offensive firepower, especially when you consider that the Retaliator, I believe, has 6, 4 in the front, 2 in the back. This has 28. That is a very big difference. Another kind of question about the Polaris modularity there was, how modular is the Polaris? Can you swap out the hangar or any of the bays? Short answer is no, it's not modular. There's not any plans to do that. It's designed the way it is to support the roles it's supposed to be in. They go on to ask about the cockpit, how it appears to be obstructed due to the struts. And the answer there was pretty simple. It's a signature RSI ship. It kind of harkens back to the Constellation and the Aurora. It's one of those little pieces that goes into the design of the game and really kind of loops all those pieces together, meaning that any RSI ship you get into should have some of those type of design elements in it. Now, they try to comfort us a little bit and say that there's a lot of glass, though, so there's a lot of good views depending on where you're at. The struts are present, but you should have plenty of viewing angles depending on where you're at. Okay, so talking about the weaponry, they mentioned that there's conflicting info between the stats page and the brochure. They confirm that there's 4 size 10 torpedo tubes, which is big boys. They go on to say that there is 6 manned turrets. Now, I'm only counting 5 of them, but I was counting the 2 on the top, the 2 on the sides, and the 1 on the back top. So apparently, there's 1 more somewhere, and they said they'll update the stats page accordingly. So we'll end up seeing what that is. Now, up front, you've got the 1 remote-operated turret on the nose. Now, that's the one that you're actually going to be controlling from the bridge. Now, that's a remote-operated turret. On the rear, you have an auto turret, which is on the lower rear. So, if I had to guess, I would say that the remote-operated turret person is really focused on aiming and shooting the gun up front, but they probably also have controls over like targeting and setting priorities on the rear turret on the back. I don't know that for sure, but that would kind of make sense. It probably does its thing on its own, but you can end up kind of dictating what it might do. That's a hunch. I would think that makes sense, though. Now, as far as the weapons go, on the size of the turrets, it was something that I was really kind of wanting to see. It was something I thought was really important to kind of get more information on because it's listed as size 4 turrets, which means that it would be size 1 weapons. Now, if it's following the nomenclature and the sizing of other weapons that we've seen, then all of a sudden it's going to be it's listed as size 4, but that's really the weapons that are on there. So it's 2 by size 4. I was a little disappointed to see that they didn't address that in the video, so I reached out to some of the developers and got a hold of Proxys, whose response to the question was, at this time, the size of the turret weapon sizes on the Polaris have been deliberately left off of the information provided. This was done in an effort to prevent any confusion moving forward. While we routinely remind everyone that all ship stats are subject to change, we felt that this was the best way to approach this particular ship. Please rest assured that the weaponry will be appropriate for a ship of this size and role. I wish I could be more specific in details, but this is all the information I can provide right now. So Proxys, I appreciate you getting back to me. The honesty is appreciated. When I asked him if we'd have an idea when we would know, the answer was basically once they start fleshing out the capital weapons and start kind of balancing from there, they'll end up making their decision and share with everybody at that point. I think the important thing there is that they're going to balance it to, that they're going to make it best to approach it based on the ship size and the role. And with that in mind, it's a cap ship that has combat in mind. So from that perspective, 2 by size 4s makes a lot of sense and is kind of what I'm expecting at this point in time. The only thing that has me a little bit concerned is that the devs have mentioned a couple times that the actual role of the turrets, though, is anti-fighter. Now, size 1s isn't really a good turret size for anything, especially since it's hard to hit targets with a turret, so having the larger one makes sense. So my gut says size 4, but obviously there's still doubt there, and it sounds like the developers haven't even figured that out to this point. So moving back on to the questions, they say, can we fully repair and refill any ship capable of landing? They say refill and restocking. Yes, if you can get the ship in there, you can throw on more missiles, you can throw on more ammo, you can throw on, more fuel. And that's what some of the cargo, I think, is going to be best used for. That cargo space is actually holding the materials that you're going to be restocking ships with. Now, they say repairing is much more limited than a crucible, so it's not replacing the role of that ship. There's some room to walk around the ship that's landed there, and you can do some fixing with handheld tools, but if that ship is too damaged, a full facility or a crucible should really be found. And the last question that they addressed was what other rooms are on the ship. We already mentioned the captain quarters and the secondary quarters. There's also a med bay. There's an armory, which is kind of nice, so that kind of harkens back to the potential of this being used as a dropship. And then the cool last one there is a brig, so this could potentially be used as some sort of bounty hunting type of capital ship, or if somebody in your crew's acting up, you can just lock them up. So that's new information. I hope that helps you guys out. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for more content coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.